Good morning. I am the Reverend Mitra, and I have gathered with a handful of lay leaders here at St. John's Unitarian Universalist Church. Joetta Crow, Phyllis Flanagan Cox, Anjali Dutt, and I want to share this time with you now because of our anger over the deaths of 2 more people who were killed by police because of the color of their skin. We are well aware that there are other people who have died for the color of their skin, even in this past week. It's just that we don't know their stories. John Kachuba and Sarah Seibert helped us craft these words, but John and Sarah were not able to be with us today. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were killed by police. That is to say, they were killed by the state. Under our democratic system, government is supposed to be by the people, for the people. But who is included in the dream of democracy and who has always been left out? These United States were built on the backs of people who we kidnapped and enslaved. We enacted laws which limited the acknowledgement of their innate humanity. These laws echo through our modern culture, preventing people of color from fully participating in our democracy and all too often taking their lives.
As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the worth of every person, all colors, origins, all genders. No one is left out. Everyone's life is sacred. Everyone is entitled to be treated with dignity. We hurt everyone when we continue the culture and violence of oppression. Our language shapes our culture. So let's be honest with our words. When citizens, even in police uniform, kill people because they think their victims are guilty of a crime, the word we use is lynching. And this is murder. Our American history of lynching is tied up with our history of slavery. There is a flow to history. Slavery gave way to forced labor, ongoing segregation, violence, and hatred. Jim Crow laid the foundation for a legal system that is quick to cage people of color. The flow of history has brought us health and educational inequities, voter suppression, and radical differences in the distribution of wealth, as well as other harms, the most violent of which is still lynching.
Lynching does not require a rope and a tree. Pursuit can happen in a pickup truck, and the weapon be a shotgun, and the victim be a jogger. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered by men who no longer wore a badge, but had all the powers of connections in a system that values white lives over black lives. This system allows white men and women to employ the power of racism for our own comfort. If we don't pay attention to people like Christian Cooper, the bird watcher in Central Park, who was threatened by a white woman calling the police and telling a lie, if we don't pay attention to Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Jonathan Farrell, Renisha McBride, Stephon Clark, Jordan Edwards, Jordan Davis,
Alton Sterling, Ayanna Jones, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Sean Bell, Oscar Grant, Sandra Bland,
Philando Castile, Corey Jones, John Crawford, Terrence Crutcher, Keith Scott, Clifford Glover, Claude Reese, Randy Evans,
Yvonne Smallwood, Amadou Diallo, Walter Scott, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Sammy DeVos,
and the 9 people killed in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015, Clementa Pickney, Cynthia Hurd, Susie Jackson, Ethel Lee Lance, DePayne Middleton Doctor, Tawanza Sanders, Daniel Simmons, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Myra Thompson. If we don't pay attention to these people whose lives were stolen, maybe we will pay attention to a burning Minneapolis police station.
Or a blocked I-75 highway, broken windows in the Hamilton County Courthouse, small explosives in the lobby of the Atlanta CNN building. The anger is justified. Trust is broken. The moment to change is upon us. The same virus that has so badly hurt marginalized communities has chased many of us into our homes and given us time to consider, what will we do with our lives? What if our lives are shortened by illness? What if your life were shortened? What would you like to have contributed to justice? What will we do? What will we do together? Will we take this moment and change?
At this hour of anger and anguish, let us turn to our inner light of conscious and prayerful meditation and remember that what is good and true is always available to us.
We are grateful for those who risk their safety and livelihood for the cause of justice, and for a faith tradition that emboldens us in the work of challenging the systems we have inherited. These same systems trap us in a history of oppression and unequal power.
We pause now to acknowledge our failings. We too often believe the myth that racism is over. Too often, we have not believed people of color when they tell us of the oppression they experience. Too often, we default to thinking of individual incidents instead of systemic oppression. Too often, we have demanded video proof. Too often, we have justified our privilege at the expense of our neighbor's well-being. Too often, we unconsciously contribute to a culture where lynchings continue to happen.
May our hearts be open to understanding how racism impacts all of us, and some of us much more than others. May the people who work in our police departments employ the fullness of their humanity when serving everyone. May we understand the systems that hold us, the histories which we inherit, and the power we have to change the future. May this understanding start within each heart and grow to touch the world. May each person come to understand the value of life. Everyone you encounter is precious, is holy. May we all respect and revere life as the gift it is. Let us not be deceived by the myth that racism is over, or the lie that any of us is wise enough to see the whole picture without needing each other. Therefore, let us listen to one another with faith in each other's stories.
We commit ourselves to engage in relationships with people whose experiences differ from ours, to have the courage to confront white supremacy by learning the history, speaking up, and taking action. Let us speak truth to power and recognize our own complicity in oppression. We will work actively for the liberation of all people.
and in so doing, may we add our weight to bending the arc toward justice. So may it be. Amen.